So at the end of the day, there's not a whole lot of difference between an agent and a broker anymore. In my opinion, and I'll argue this all day long, I don't think there's any reason to be a broker anymore.
What's up, guys? It's Joe Herrera coming live from Las Vegas. I am joined by my friend and business partner, Tracy Barber, all the way across the country in just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. Yeah?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, Tracy's been a collaboration partner of mine now for going on 3 months, probably. So, but
when we started chatting.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got a kind of an interesting background in the real estate industry. Talk a little bit about who you are, where you came from. You've got corporate experience, you've got indie brokerage ownership experience. So who is Tracy Barber?
Yeah, so I'm going on my 16th year in the business. Came into it from construction management, kind of by mistake more than anything, when a development project I was working on went under. But then kind of got thrown right into brokerage ownership when that project went under. And we were a franchise of Exit Realty for almost 12 years. So just about 4.5 years ago, we decided to leave the franchise world because the value for costs was definitely a question mark for sure. So we've been in the independent world for the last 4.5 years, and just about a month ago, just decided to transition our brokerage over to Real.
So talk a little bit about your corporate experience. Like coming into the real estate industry for me 20 years ago, there really wasn't an option. Like indie brokerages hadn't gained a ton of steam. Most indie brokerages at the time were really small, old school mom and pop shops. So like corporate brokerages was all there was. I started with Remax.
Yeah.
So you've got your experience with Exit Realty. So talk a little bit about your corporate experience and the exposure you had to the brokerage world.
I mean, that was a great world for a while. The company was thriving. Honestly, when I got into it, it feels a lot like where Real is right now, just about to kind of head in different directions. The problem at that time, like soon after, within a few years of joining that system, brokerages really started changing up the compensation models because agents wanted more. And that's been a common theme for as long as I've been in the business. Agents want more value for the money they're paying. So over time, that model just became less and less attractive. I loved the collaboration and the people that were at a national level with that company, and I loved the ability to reach outside of my market to get information, training, coaching, etc. So when we stepped into the independent world, we kind of lost that. And that was definitely a factor, but the cost advantage was major.
So the thing we don't talk about often, people say that being in the insurance industry is awesome because insurance is not an option, it's a law, right? Like you have to have an insurance on your car. If you have a mortgage on your property, you have to have insurance on your home. So in the brokerage world, what a lot of people coming into the industry don't understand, or people outside our industry, is by law in just about every state and province I'm aware of, you have to affiliate with a real estate broker or be a broker yourself. Like there is no option to just be a licensed real estate professional without a brokerage affiliation. And so I think for years, I don't know, maybe 100 years, brokerages capitalized on that relationship, just knowing that people had to belong to a brokerage. And so the tug of war that you and I have talked about was a constant theme, which is brokerage profitability being pulled by the brokerage owner or the broker owner himself, and then agent profitability being pulled by them. And it's been this tug of war. So heading into indie brokerage ownership, when you started the Lux Group, how were you fighting that battle? I mean, was it regionally? I think you had large corporate experience across the nation. So when you built Lux Group, what were some of the dynamics in your local market?
I mean, one of the big things that changed starting around 2008, 9, 10 is technology went third party. It used to be that companies, these corporations would own kind of the latest and greatest from technology standpoint, and then it all went third party. So I could actually get it cheaper as an independent than I could as a corporation. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to, there's a lot of independent brokerages in the indie world that they're just offering a hang your license service. And it becomes more and more challenging to compete with those kinds of models when, our industry's made it pretty damn easy at this point to get a broker's license and open up your shop and say, you know what, I'm not worried about the risk of managing transactions and the liabilities. I'm just going to offer either a flat fee or a 100% model or any varying of those things. So it becomes it's very difficult for an agent too to decipher what is the value I'm going to get for the cost I'm going to pay when you have options from very low splits to very high splits. So the industry has changed drastically, and it really started changing when the MLS came out. When data started going to MLSs and MLSs started feeding to websites, agents became really in control of a lot of the business that they can convert and capture. So at the end of the day, there's not a whole lot of difference between an agent and a broker anymore.
Right.
Other than the ability to go open up your own brokerage. But in my opinion, and I'll argue this all day long, I don't think there's any reason to be a broker anymore.
It's not super fun. Well, we were talking about this.
When you look at Real, who is moving, I've told people in the last few weeks, it's almost think of it like I'm moving brokerage management services, and I'm partnering with Real to provide my brokerage management services. I can still grow and run a business many of the same ways I have. I just don't have to, take on all that responsibility and risk. It's the high risk, low return activities that I'm outsourcing at this point.
Well, we were talking about this yesterday in our team meeting. The Y2K moment for us as real estate professionals was when clients got access to the MLS. Because when I first got in 2000, the MLS was basically a dot matrix website where we only had, we were a necessary evil in a sense for the consumer, because the advantage we had over the consumer was our access to properties. As soon as the www everything was created, then clients no longer needed us to have access to property information. But then that was a cool watershed moment, because just like waking up on January 1st, the year 2000, and the power was still on, once clients got access to property information, they still needed us as agents. And so I feel like we're going through that process in a more in a slower process with brokerages, like you said, to where brokerage affiliation is no longer a necessary evil. Intelligent agents are going, well, there's just a smarter way to have a relationship with my brokerage. It's not that I don't need them. How do you move from a position of needing a broker by law to wanting a broker by profession? It's a good, positive relationship. So what, from the indie broker world, you had to make the decision as a broker owner to bring your agents into the Real Broker ecosystem. But I'm curious, what about Real Broker intrigued you enough to say, I'm actually going to voluntarily step down from the broker owner relationship I have with my agents and transition everyone into this world where we're all business partners utilizing the Real Broker ecosystem? So that was kind of a Y2K decision for you. So what about Real attracted you?
Agent ownership. I've always believed that if I make decisions for my agents first, that hopefully it'll work out for me. If it doesn't, then I probably don't, need to be in the business as a broker or growth leader anymore. But I believe that if you always lead with making decisions for your agents first, then you're going to be all right. And everyone wants ownership. Let's face it, this is an entrepreneurial business. And it would have taken me so long to get to the point where I could have offered stock at the Lux Group. I thought about it, honestly. I thought, well, hey, this Real thing is pretty cool. There's a couple other companies like EXP that are kind of in the same market where they've moved brokerage to a state and national level from a standpoint of flexibility and ability to have the freedom to move anywhere or grow anywhere. And it would have taken me 5 to 10 years, and there was no guarantees I could have got there, when I could just today offer my agents agent ownership. They all want ownership. If they didn't want ownership, then I started to question myself, why, what was I providing? And at the end of the day, I think I was just providing a service as an independent brokerage. I wasn't giving them any ownership. So at the end of the day, some people were probably just staying with me for services, and they were cheap enough that they stayed with me. There wasn't a real ownership standpoint from the point where they said, well, I've got a vested interest in this. I'm not going to leave. You know what I mean? It's a whole different ball game. I think we're just at the age in real estate where agents understand that they're in control of their business. They can, you look at some of the teams and agents that are producing massive volumes in this business. They're making way more than the brokers are making. So, I mean, they're the ones that are, in control of a real business. Why not give them ownership? Why not give them opportunities to grow outside of their local market? And that was really the big things for me.
So if anybody watching this has any questions, just drop them below in the chat, and I'll pop them over to Tracy. So is it safe to say that agents, in your opinion, want ownership without liability? Because you had ownership as a broker, but you also had extreme
ownership without liability. So I woke up every day hoping that I didn't get sued for a couple $1 million by some idiot with a stupid agenda.
Right.
So they do, but it's agent ownership and it's collaboration. I do believe that true happiness in real estate comes through collaboration, and we were missing a lot of that. I don't think some of my agents, some of them are starting to realize it. Some didn't think about it at all. But the value that I'm going to be able to bring to the people that are in my network and my team is going to be far greater now working with Real than it was as an independent. Collaboration is really key.
So talk about that, because we're just getting started in this process, right? You were looking at Real, I don't know, we started talking maybe in April or March. You made your transition June, so you're 30 days into this or whatever. What has been, describe collaboration to somebody who doesn't understand the concept, because real estate's such a competitive world. It's inter-office competition, it's external office competition, it's city-based competition. So how does collaboration work, and what does it look like to someone who hasn't experienced it?
I feel like the simplest way to explain it is kind of like you're either paying for it or you're on a team that's willing to give you some value, because we're all growing together. Right. We're all part owners in a company that we hope, and believe that's going to go, explode and be a rocket ship. Then we all want to share. We all want to work together to help each other grow. Versus, if I was an independent and trying to lean on some of the people that I, now are getting clips from, or little pieces of nuggets of information on a daily basis, it would cost me tens of thousands of dollars a month in coaching fees.
Right.
It's, and that's what I don't think people realize. I mean, this definitely shines a light on some parts of the industry that kind of drive me nuts. One is there's a lot of agents that are uncoachable and just think that they know everything. If you don't look at and see the value what a company like Real can bring to the table from a collaboration and learning standpoint, then you better be careful, because you may end up out of the industry in the next couple of years, depending on what happens. You certainly could be susceptible to not being ready for the right things, or not having the tools in place that you're going to need to survive. So, well, I've always been a true hardcore, knowledge, seeker in this business. The more I can learn, the better. I've never stopped learning. There's some agents who just won't show up to trainings, won't show up to webinars, and you just shake your head and you kind of wonder, like, do you really know everything at this point? I certainly.
Well, and it's been, there's times where I was having a conversation with Tamir, the CEO of the company, and there's some individuals that they're looking at bringing on board for the One Real conference in San Antonio in October. And he named a guy that has millions of followers. And I was like, I'd never heard of him. And I think he was surprised that I've traditionally had blinders on. Like, I don't pay attention a lot to what other individuals are doing. I just try to do what I do very well. So the last 12 months have been the most collaborative 12 months of my career, not from a giving collaboration, because I'm always willing to hop on a call and share my thoughts and opinions with somebody. But as far as receiving collaboration, like learning from other agents, that's been a big watershed moment for me. over the last year, because traditionally I'm just a heads down. We do what we do well, and I don't pay attention to other people. I just try to protect my mindset. I don't want to get too jealous. I don't want to get too envious. I don't want to get too depressed about my own business. And so I find myself just sticking to what I do really well. But over the last 12 months, all of a sudden, because collaboration is at the core of what Real is as a company, it's not about corporate. It's not about the corporate investors. It's not about your state broker. It's literally an agent-to-agent relationship company where you and I are 2,500 miles away. Your market's different than my market. Your group is different than my group. But as we discuss principles in real estate, all of a sudden, I'm learning from you things because you see things from a different perspective. It's no longer a competition issue. It's a collaboration issue.
Right.
Like I see you share with me how you see something. I share with you how I see something. And we both come away going like, holy crap, I'm so grateful we had that conversation. And I think agents are missing that. Right.
I don't know about you, Joe, but I've also seen the walls already coming down from us versus them when it comes to the broker agent relationship. Now, as a growth leader, we're on the same team where, they have just as much opportunity as I have. It's the same split. It's the same stock ownership opportunities. It's the same revenue share opportunities. Everyone is created equal. And that's really good. That really brings down the walls for sure. It's a struggle of how much can I get from Tracy? Let's go asking for more money, or let's, what I mean? Like
a better split or whatever.
Or how should I be really, trusting what he says? It just brings down those walls, now it's a whole different world.
Well, and I think coming to the office has changed too. Like for me, walking into my office over the last 5 or 6 years as an indie brokerage owner, I had one mission, which was to grow my brokerage, and my agents had one mission, which was to do more transactions. Now I come into my office and still paramount of everything we do is do more transactions. But all of a sudden there's this sneaky little conversations of like, hey, Joe, I've got a friend who I think would really do well on our team. And I'm like, well, where were you for the last 5 years when I was trying to all of a sudden now they're motivated for that. Or like, hey, I've got a potential team leader in, Denver, Colorado that I think could run a team with us. And so I think the thing that I've enjoyed the most, because the secret of Real is not, there's a handful of individuals that have, 1,000, 1,500 agents in their network are making 6 figures a month in revenue share. But that's not the core of what Real is. The core of what Real is and the power behind it is that agents most real estate agents I know have side hustles. It's either they, drive Uber, they invest in Bitcoin. In Vegas, it's, they work down on the strip, they're valet parkers, performers at Cirque du Soleil, whatever it is. Everybody's got this side hustle and then they do real estate. I think what I love about Real is built into the ecosystem is the side hustle of as they attract their friends into the ecosystem, they receive revenue share. And what I've been guilty of in the past is I get so excited about it because we accidentally grew a massive network. I've told you before, like we didn't plan on having 1,100 agents in our network after 12 months at the company. Right. Our goal was 200. We moved over with 100 and we were like, man, if we get to 200, that'd be great. We accidentally got to 1,100. But the problem is when I talk about it, people are like, well, I will never do that. And to some degree, I disagree with them, but to some degree, I agree with them. And so what I love about Real is not the ability to make $100,000 a month in revenue share. What I love about Real is the realistic ability for an agent to put in 3 or 4 years as a full-time agent as a part-time agent attraction specialist and build $3,000 or $4,000 a month in residual income, which, I mean, you and I both know people who put in time as a school teacher, a firefighter, whatever it is, and put in 20 years to get their retirement. All of a sudden they're making $4,000 a month in retirement, but it took them 20 years to get there. And what I love at Real is we can help people do that in 3 or 4 years as a side hustle of just having a few of their friends come over to the company.
Yeah. I mean, for all the agents that are listening, they just need to just do their job really well, and they're going to get questions. I have an agent who it's been a month. He's introduced 3 cappers, so his cap is now like eliminated. His cap is gone, and that's just 3 months. And he doesn't recruit. He's a good guy who just has relationships with other agents, and they ask him questions and they chat. And it doesn't have to be hard. The value proposition of Real is completely real. If you look at 80% of all agents' current compensation structure and you compare it to Real, there's a real value there. Right. So it's not a hard sell. It doesn't have to be a hard sell. It just has to be, do your job well, be happy. I always thought, even in, I've always offered a revenue share model. I even had at one level with Lux Group, and I always just used to tell agents, just be happy, be good at your job, and the opportunities will come. Don't even think about it. The opportunities will just come. And I think there's going to be tremendous opportunity with Real. Like, if you look at it, we're kind of the second one in the space of how the brokerage is run. And like, look at what the first one did. And I think Real has changed and perfected a lot of the imperfections in the first one to kind of go to this space. But even if it's not going to be the last. I think this is a trend. Right. This is a trend of a new brokerage model that Real is involved in. And we're being the second one in, even if there's a third or a fourth, by the time they catch up to where we're heading, there's not going to, I think we're positioned better than any other company around right now to explode in the next 5 years.
So talk about the comparisons, because naturally when you made the move over to Real, your agents and people outside of your brokerage asked you, well, what's the difference between Real and EXP? Like, yes. I've always said, I don't shy away from the conversation. I'm a huge EXP fan.
I didn't know if we were shying or not, so I didn't know.
No, I'm not a shyer.
Look at what EXP's done. They exploded. But, in Massachusetts, for instance, where I am right now, there's over 800 EXP agents. But I hear complaints all the time about, lack of real people, working behind the scenes in the company, or being able to actually get a response from somebody. Not really, really pushing 100% cloud-based and not having people like you or I, or like state brokers that are highly involved. And I think Real is really pushed the fact that this is still a people business, and there's people that are working for the company that you can talk to on a daily basis. And I've talked to many of them. And just even from a standpoint of, an agent had a question on the app the other day, and within 10 minutes it was answered. You don't have to log into a universe and go find somebody to talk to or schedule an appointment with your broker. There's real people that, work as the brokers and as the support behind this company. And I think that's huge. I think it offers a huge opportunity that, EXP might have missed. But also, if you do a side-by-side comparison for an agent that's making $70,000 or more, the money is clear. The money is clearly different.
So how do you keep your agents focused on production? I think one of the things I saw that was a turnoff, because you and I went through the same thing. Like, for the last 5 years, I've been approached about EXP, probably 20 different times. We always punted. I was a huge fan. I have no animosity toward the company. But one of the things I saw was some of the agents that I had respect for that were doing decent production, 15, 20, 25 deals a year, would end up in that ecosystem. And it was almost like their priority shifted from production to recruiting. And for us, we've tried to keep our agents focused on doing production. Like, don't stop doing, your main thing has to be your main thing.
Right.
So how are you messaging that? Because it's so fresh for your agents. And in Massachusetts, Real's not big, and frankly, EXP's not that big. Right. So how are you keeping your agents focused?
In my area, for sure, I'm just, saying, look, a lot of my position hasn't changed. I'm calling myself a growth leader. I was always a growth leader. I also did brokerage management services, but I'm still a growth leader. Like, if you have someone that's just kind of curious, or just saying, oh, hey, how's it going over there at Real? Just get them over to me. Let you do your job. I'll do my job. Right. The value is there. And, I think just the nature of the differences of the two revenue share models, it puts more emphasis on just closing deals. And, because at the end of the day, and I'll tell most agents that I talk to, like, you may not get to the second level. You may not unlock tier 2. Like, But think about how many people, you could just 4 or 5 in tier 1, what that could do for you.
Well, and that's the brilliance of our model that isn't often talked about. When somebody asks me, like, what's the difference? I'm always like, well, the thing that I love about Real's compensation plan versus EXP's is that our highest compensation factor is on tier 1. Now, full disclosure, with the number of agents in Taylor and I's network, Spring, Brad McCollum, there's some of these individuals that probably would like benefit from that tier 6 and 7 a lot. But the reality is the power, again, isn't about me. It's about that independent, agent that does 20 deals a year and would attract 2 or 3 friends a year to their tier 1. Real compensates us the most on that first tier, which is the power of it's not let's get to level 5 or 6 or 7. It's let's just have good people that we sponsor into the company that we help be productive. And if 2 ever comes or 3 or 4, tiers, great. But don't obsess over tier 7.
Right.
Focus on tier 1.
Right. If you look and I haven't done a complete comparison model on this, I probably should because it would be interesting. But I know where the numbers would out. If you looked at introducing one person a year for 5 years, like buying some stock in the program, you're $150,000 gross, a year agent, maybe even from 120 to 150. And you look at the comparison of net income, EXP versus Real, and revenue share and stock, it's got to be $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 difference over a 5-year period.
Right.
It's at least that much. Mm-hmm. So yes, this is far better for the average. And I hate to say average because there's nothing average about introducing one person per year, but you're not like
there's nothing average about doing 15 minutes either.
People that were after me from EXP, their biggest thing they're saying is like, you're not going to get, you don't have 6 or 7. And I'm like, there's some reductions if you reach like $200,000 a month in revenue share. I'm like, okay, that's small world problems. And that goes to show you like that model is driven like many of those are like, you got to get to 7, you got to get to 7 levels. And, I just want to have a good life and I want to have an impact on the people that I can serve in my network. And, that's, I don't need 7 levels.
So talk about this. We've got a few minutes left. You're working on some pretty cool technology. I don't know where you're at, if you're ready to discuss some of the things you're working on. Yeah. Tech is kind of it seems like a lot of your passion goes into that. So talk about some of the tech stuff.
It is. I've got 2 products, homeslistedby.com, which is gearing up more and more every day. We're actually seeking venture capital right now for it. It's a consumer friendly, totally transparent website, which allows a home search for the consumer. And they'd always have the choice in who they want to speak to. So it's kind of a departure from the shell games that Realtor.com and Zillow will play with consumers. And, it's got the off-market opportunity side to it as well as buyer searchability. So if an agent creates a buyer profile, they can publicly post it. Nobody would know who that buyer is without contacting that agent. But it would allow the, consumers that are selling a home, for instance, to search for a buyer profile that might fit the sale of their home. I mean, at the end of the day, this
flips the funnel completely upside down.
Yes, it does. And it's not available anywhere else. And at the end of the day, there's a whole world of off-market opportunities that, yes, we understand there has to be contracts in place and all this other stuff. We understand our jobs as agents, but there's no one portal where someone could go on and look for off-market opportunities. Let's face it, not everybody wants to sell their home on MLS. iBuyer programs wouldn't exist if everybody wanted to sell on MLS.
Right.
So an iBuyer program is like a very limited way to find a buyer. If there's other opportunities out there, I think that's what consumers want. Consumers want something more. If you fast forward 10 years, there will be another player or 2, maybe 3 or 4 on the market that will compete with Zillow and Realtor.com, and that's our hopes with homeslistedby.com. It's a very nice consumer friendly, consumer searchable website. We kind of took that and we branched off of it and created Powered by Agents, which is, I would say it's a competitor of Chime and Commissions Inc. We're adding more and more features to it every day. It is live now. Their first customer is my team. So Powered by Agents' first customer is the Lux Group team. The website is live at liveyourluxlife.com if anybody wants to check it out. But we're starting to add our first customers in the next 2 weeks. So if anybody's out there looking for a good solution from a broker or agent or team perspective for a website solution, let me know. I'll be glad to show you a demo and show you what it's all about. It's got a really strong, again, backbone of consumer-friendly search ability. It's got the off-market opportunities. It's got the buyer search platform as well as the big thing for me was the advertising opportunity. So you see ads on Zillow, Realtor.com. No agent websites out there right now have the ability for the agent team or broker that's kind of managing those websites to add their own advertising into them. We've got probably 15, 20 different banner ad locations on the website that are not annoying, but they allow the subscriber, whoever's we've subscribed given the website to advertise their own lenders, their own partners, their own attorneys, to put them on subscription models and banner ad models so that they can increase their advertising revenue. Because at the end of the day, I've seen your posts about Zillow and how they want to take a bigger and bigger piece of the commission pie, and they absolutely do. They're going to keep taking more and more. So at some point, agents and team leaders and brokers really have to start to learn how to generate their own business. And it's not cheap. It's not cheap to run Google ads. It's not cheap to convert on Facebook. So I know you do very extremely well with it, but in general, like it's a game that's not easy, and Zillow and Real.com know that. But one of my missions is to help people with that. And if you can have, let's say your budget's $2,000 a month right now for advertising, or you hope it to be, and you can get lenders and attorneys on your website and get them to match what you're putting into it from a standpoint of Google advertising. Now you can, now you've got partners that are invested in your lead generation and conversion to reduce the cost of your leads and reduce the cost of your conversions. So that's a big thing for me is offering opportunities through this website solution for agents, brokers, and teams to be able to, maximize their advertising spend with partners.
So it's homeslisted.by.com, right?
Yes. Yep.
And then what was the other one?
It's poweredbyagents.com. That's the website solution.
Somebody asked for it. Poweredbyagents.com.
If you want to see
all right, Tracy,
like liveyourluxlife.com is my new team website, and that's built on the backbone of Powered by Agents. So.
All right. Well, I am posting those in the chat there. Well, thanks for hopping on. I'm excited to have you. We've got a lot of work to do, but I think we share the same passion. We believe in the opportunity that is Real Broker, and we are utilizing the Real Broker ecosystem to collaborate at a really high level. I think that's a mind shift that agents have to go through, is realize it's not, I work for Real, I do what they tell me to do. It's that Real gives you the ability to run your own business at a very high level, collaborate with agents at a really high level. It's not about, I hate to coin a phrase from the great Massachusetts Senator turned President John F. Kennedy. It's not what your brokerage can do for you, but it's what you can do for your brokerage. Like, what can you do for your world that builds your world in a way that enables you to collaborate and run the business and have ownership at a really high level. I think agents for so long have been programmed to think, like, what will my brokerage give me? What will my broker give me? What do I have to give up in order to hang my license somewhere? Real flip that upside down, and Real, the company, is saying, how can we power the agents? How can we fuel the agents? And the agents then can use the ecosystem to build a big business, which is just so upside down to what people are traditionally used to. So this is
crazy. Like, I've had agents say, I want to get licensed in Florida. Now I don't have to worry about how to figure out how to do that myself. It's so crazy, the opportunity. There's literally no reason to go out on your own and start a brokerage anymore. There's none. I would highly suggest not doing that at this point in time. There's no reason for it anymore. There's models like Real that really offer an opportunity to grow without any borders, and have your agents be partners with you 100%. It's funny because when I was announcing this, I said, if I got hit by a truck tomorrow, life goes on, you're still owners of the company. Whereas if it was Lux, I don't know, who knows what would happen to it. I almost
For
choked.
sure.
I almost choked to death at a lunch we had right after that with my agents. I said, I almost proved you guys right there. But it's been great, and I'm looking forward to the next year with Real and beyond. It's going to be a fun ride.
Awesome. Okay, buddy. Grateful for you. Thank you for hopping on.
Yeah. All right. Bye.